Hey guys, it's Beth. Welcome back to my channel. And today I just have a quick card share for you. It's the cards I made using the Cozy Lodge pad from the Recollections. And normally I save the cards until like the very last thing when I'm doing my pad projects. This time I did it a little differently. I did these cards pretty much at the same time I was doing these journals and decorating the box tops on my countdown binder that I showed you in the last video. And the reason I did them kind of together was like as I was working through the scraps of the papers that I had left, if I saw something that I thought would work better in one place than the other, then I would go ahead and like use it either on a card front or, you know, in one of the albums here. And so I kind of jumped back and forth. So that was the only thing that was a little bit different about this process. But as always, I used sketches for most of the cards that I did make. And then this one is the sketch you see all the time, Operation Right Home, sketch number 154. It's my workhorse of a sketch for the scraps that I have left at the end. Several different variations of this one, just using up some of the strips, cut them down into squares, used up strips down here. And I used either craft cardstock or white cardstock card bases throughout, and they're all A2 size cards, in case I forget to say that later. This is Operation Right Home, sketch number 25. And this one, I really like how it turned out. Like super simple, but I love how the white pops off of that black card mat and then the crisp red and green off the white. So I just added, this was a little stamp sentiment I already had in my stash, just cut it into a fishtail and added 2 little rhinestones. This is My Favorite Things, sketch number 265. And this was just kind of a hodgepodge of scraps that I had left. And just kind of layered them up. This was a sticker. I just backed on some of that birch pattern. And this one I actually added the sentiment here, and then on this one I just added a little patterned flag here and then my sentiment layered up there. This is a sketch from Robin's Craft Room. It does not have a number attached to it, but I will link the card sketches below so you will have a direct link to this one since you can't search for it. But these are pretty simple. Just added a colored mat behind my patterned paper here, or a craft mat. And then I had these red flowers already punched in my stash, and so I realized that once they're layered up, they kind of look like a poinsettia. And so then I went through my stash and I found it's like kind of a yellowish gold glitter cardstock, and so I just punched some little circles for my flower center there, just to kind of help it look more like a poinsettia. This is My Favorite Things, sketch number 284. Bunch of different versions of these. I had a bunch of squares of patterned paper left from something, not sure what it was, which project it was, and then I also had a bunch of strips, and so I just kind of combined one of the squares with a strip and then a colored card mat, and then the sentiment on kind of most cases throughout, if I didn't already have it stamped, I stamped it on either this white wood grain or the white birch paper, just to use up some of those scraps instead of using up cardstock. And then the white dots here, these are actually vinyl, like little scraps of vinyl that I just cut into little circles to look like a enamel dot or rhinestone or something like that. Just some little embellishments. Like I said, these are all very similar. This is Freshly Made Sketches number 24. And this one was just using up, this was a little cut apart. And so I just ran to the corners and added a little red mat behind it. And then you can see here I just used whatever strip I could find to go across the center. This is Mojo Monday, sketch number 361, and I got a bunch of these. And again, these were just using up some of the squares that I had, different sizes. And these wreaths that I fussy cut out at the very beginning of this project came in so handy. And they're not just a sentiment, but it's also like an embellishment or a focal point. So I loved having these already done. This was just the happy holidays that I fussy cut out of that wreath. Like there was a partial wreath, I think, that I was able to get the full words out of, so I just used those instead of the wreath. Here's a journal card. It already had the birch around the outside of it, so I left that. And I think this one looks really good with that brown wood grain, but it was the only strip I had left. I like that dark green and the brown together. And then this was another cut apart that I just rounded the corners on, and I actually matted it with another scrap, like a dark pattern paper. This one I matted it on some birch pattern paper. My favorite things, sketch number 331. Again, use those wreaths that I had fussy cut out. They came in so handy, and then just added a couple little scraps, whatever strips that I had. This is Operation Right Home, sketch number 145. These are super simple cards here. Since I had a wreath that was here kind of like front and center of the patterned paper, I just let that be my sentiment and my focal point, and then added a dimensional poinsettia down here on the strip just for some extra decoration and interest. This is Freshly Made Sketches number 207. And it's just kind of a basic grid pattern. I just found some sizes of scraps that would work well together in a grid pattern. This is one of those Christmas tags that I got from Michael's, half off after Thanksgiving. And it had like a sheer red ribbon to, tie it onto your present with. And it was all like wrinkled up. And so I just pulled it off and then added some little thin ribbon from my stash and tied it into a bow and glued it on. This is Operation Right Home, sketch number 144, or number 44, sorry. And this just used some of the cut aparts that I had. It was already cut into a rectangle, so I just picked a strip and then a card mat that worked with it, and there you go. This is Sunday Sketches number 12. And again, used those wreaths, loved those. Kept this one fairly simple as well. This is Operation Right Home, sketch number 221. And it's another one of those grid patterns, used up some scraps, little scraps. And because I had the craft card base, and then these were two different colors of like craft backgrounds, I inked the edges with like some dark walnut distress ink, just so that they would kind of blend together a little bit well, but stand out from the card base. This one is My Favorite Thing, sketch number 286. Really kind of simple card, just using up some strips here, and then another sticker from my stash that I just matted with some dark cards or dark pattern paper. And then this is Operation Right Home, sketch number 173. Just took two of the strips that I had left, kind of put them together to make a card mat. And then this was a sentiment I printed from my silhouette when I was doing my own personal Christmas cards, and I had printed some extra. And so I just used one of those like as a journal card, and it kind of covered most of the front, so I didn't have to add anything else really. And then this last handful, I didn't have a sketch. I was just trying to use up some of the bits and pieces that were left. So this is two pieces that were kind of put together, and I just used a thin strip of red cardstock to cover the seam, like just off center. And then a sticker from my stash, and then this Happy Holidays sentiment backed with some dark green to kind of help them pop out, and then tie them together too. These are two separate pieces as well, and then I used washi tape, like that red stripe washi tape this time, to cover the seam and to kind of give it a pop of color. This is the tag for the 25th that I didn't use in my countdown calendar binder because it only had 24 days worth of boxes. So I just saved this and decided to use it. I mean, it's the 25th. Most people know if they get a Christmas card with the number 25 on it, it kind of stands for Christmas Day or the 25th. So I didn't even add a sentiment. I may come back and add a sentiment to this one, I don't know. And then down here, these are just some like little enamel dots that I got from Dollar Tree. This one was the simplest card ever. This is the same paper that I had on the front of my journal. And I just cut it down to fit an A2 size card and covered the whole card front with it and just left it. I mean, it was beautiful on its own. I didn't want to mess with it. I didn't think there was anything else that I could add that would do anything more to it. Like, I think anything I added would actually take away from it. I think it's beautiful as it is. Easiest card ever. Second easiest card ever was this one. I just took the cardstock card mat, added the layer of the patterned paper, and then an embellishment from my stash. And then this last one, I made a little bitty scene, kind of a very simple scene. I took 2 scraps and cut them into, like, punched them into trees. And it's a really old Marvy punch that I picked up at a garage sale several years ago. And just punched out the tree shapes. This was a moose that I fussy cut out of the countdown number paper from the very bottom of it, had those images. And then the Happy Holidays came out of the wreath paper. Just fussy cut those. And then I did ink everything a little bit just to kind of help them pop off the page a little bit and tie them together. So I think I got 36 cards out of this round. I usually get more than that, but I did a lot of big projects with this pad, and I used a lot of the scraps in those albums that I did, so I didn't have as many scraps to use on the cards. As far as what I have left, I have these left from what I punched the numbers out for my countdown calendar binder, and I kept them because of the tabs up here on top of the tags. I figured that we might want to use those I can either use them on the insides of the cards or whenever we add pictures to our December dailies. We could always use these, you know, just as extra embellishments on the page with the pictures. And then I've got some cardstock pieces in here as well that I had left. And this is what I have left. Oh, there's sentiments too. So this is what I have left. I have some good sized scrap pieces here. And I have not done anything on the insides of the cards yet. So a lot of the smaller pieces will go on the inside of the cards, and then what I have left after that will go into a baggie to be used when we do our December dailies next year. We can always use these little pieces. You know, these white pieces would be great for like little journal spots or labels. I have another tag that I just haven't put in yet. You know, we can always like layer some of these behind our pictures. Here's a little circle. So just whatever doesn't get used in the cards will get used in here next year. So pretty much everything in here should get used at some point, just maybe not right this second. So I feel pretty good about this pad. I didn't necessarily, the last 2 pads I did this year, I didn't necessarily save as many scraps as I would. Like, I was probably a little more liberal if I punched something out what I ended up tossing. But I mean, I did, as you can see, I did still keep a bunch of like little pieces for inside the cards and stuff. But that's it for this pad. So the next video will be wrapping up all of the projects that I made with it. So I hope you guys got some card ideas out of this, and I thank you for watching yet another Christmas video well after Christmas. And if you have any questions on anything, let me know. Like I said, the sketches will be linked down below. But thank you guys so much for your time today, and I hope you're having a crafty day.